There's a theory that the universe keeps a ledger, not of money, not of success, but of debts that can never be repaid. The moments we bury so deep, we convince ourselves they never happened. The faces we train ourselves to forget. The names we stop saying out loud because speaking them would crack something inside us that we've spent years holding together with silence and expensive scotch and the relentless forward motion of ambition. Austin, Texas. A Thursday afternoon in late October. The sky hung low over South Congress, that particular shade of gray that makes everything feel like a memory. The kind of day that whispers to you, that makes you look over your shoulder for no reason. Derek Hartwell didn't believe in signs. He believed in code, in algorithms, in the mathematical certainty that the future belonged to those bold enough to seize it while others hesitated. That's what he told the journalists. That's what he told the investors. That's what he told himself in the mirror every morning when he looked at a face worth $4 billion and saw nothing behind the eyes but momentum. 44 years old, cover of Forbes twice, Bloomberg profile, TED Talk with 11 million views, a penthouse overlooking Lady Bird Lake, a garage with 7 cars he never drove, a contact list full of names that would return his calls within minutes. And yet, there are things that money cannot silence, frequencies that break through no matter how thick you build the walls. Derek had learned to live with the static, the low hum of something unresolved that lived in his chest like a second heartbeat. Most days he could ignore it, drown it in meetings, bury it in deals, suffocate it with the noise of becoming more. But some days like this one, gray and whispering, the static got louder. He sat in his usual spot at Epic Coffee, the corner table by the window, laptop open, AirPods in. The same ritual he'd performed 1,000 times. Work was the medicine. Work was the wall. Work was the only prayer he knew. His MacBook had been glitching for a week, screen freezing, rainbow wheels spinning. He'd been meaning to take it to the Apple Store, but time was a currency he spent elsewhere. So he sat there, watching the loading icon rotate like a meditation on futility, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Helpless. It's a strange thing, helplessness, when you've built your entire identity on its opposite. When your whole mythology is about control, about vision, about being 3 moves ahead while everyone else is still reading the board. The coffee shop hummed around him, laptops and lattes, startups and small talk, the ambient soundtrack of a city that worshipped the same gods he did. Disruption, innovation, the beautiful lie that anyone could make it if they just worked hard enough. Derek looked at his frozen screen and saw his own reflection. Tired. Older than he remembered. Something around the eyes that he didn't recognize. 15 years. That's how long it had been. 15 years since the night that split his life into before and after. 15 years since the phone call. Since the silence on the other end. Since the word that landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples that would never stop. He didn't let himself think about it. That was the rule. The one rule that held all the other rules together. But the static was loud today. The gray sky was pressing down, and his laptop, the machine that held his entire empire, his schedules and spreadsheets, and the digital architecture of his carefully constructed life, had betrayed him. He pulled out his AirPods, sighed, looked around for someone, anyone, who might know why a $3,000 machine was acting like a toy from 2005. That's when he saw her, sitting 3 tables away, a girl, 17, maybe 18, clothes that had seen too many days, a backpack held together with duct tape and hope, hair pulled back in a way that said efficiency, not style. No coffee in front of her, just a worn notebook and a pen, writing something with the focus of someone who had nothing else. She didn't belong here? That was his first thought. His second thought, the one that would haunt him later, was that she looked familiar. Something in the angle of her jaw, the way she held her pen, a ghost of a gesture he'd seen before, in another life, in a version of himself he'd killed and buried. But that was impossible. Derek shook off the feeling, looked back at his frozen screen, cursed under his breath. The universe keeps a ledger.
And today, it was about to collect.
The girl looked up, not because Derek had spoken, not because he'd made any sound at all. She looked up the way people do when they feel eyes on them. That primal awareness that predates language, that lives in the part of the brain that still remembers what it meant to be hunted. Their eyes met for exactly 2 seconds. Derek looked away first. He always did, with people like her. Not out of shame. He'd excised that particular organ years ago. But out of efficiency. Eye contact was currency. You spent it on people who could give you something back. He turned his attention to his phone, pretending to check emails he'd already read. But his laptop sat there, frozen, mocking him. And the meeting with the Singapore investors was in 3 hours. The deck was on that laptop. The projections, the numbers that would unlock another 100 million. Excuse me? Her voice was closer than he expected. He looked up to find her standing at his table, backpack over one shoulder. That worn notebook clutched against her chest like armor. I couldn't help but notice, she said. Your laptop, the spinning wheel. Derek almost laughed. Almost. The audacity of it. A homeless teenager offering tech support to a man who'd built 3 separate companies on the back of technology, who'd spoken at MIT, who'd been called a visionary by people whose opinions actually mattered. I think I can manage, he said. The dismissal in his voice was automatic, practiced. The tone he used on interns who asked too many questions. She didn't flinch. That surprised him. It's a kernel panic, she said. Your system's not frozen. It's stuck in a loop. Probably a corrupted cache file. You can force a diagnostic boot and clear it in about 2 minutes. Derek stared at her. Took in the frayed sleeves, the shoes held together with willpower, the fingernails bitten down to nothing, and then he looked at her eyes, calm, certain, completely unintimidated by the $4 billion sitting across from her. And you know this, how? My dad taught me. A flicker of something crossed her face, pain maybe, or anger. It was gone before Derek could name it. He was good with computers. Was. Past tense. Derek caught it but didn't ask. Didn't want to know. Knowing things about people like her only complicated the simple calculus of his life. Look, he said, pulling his laptop closer. I appreciate the offer, but I'll just take it too. Your meeting's in 3 hours. Derek's hand stopped. What? You've checked your watch 11 times in the last 10 minutes. You keep looking at your phone like it owes you money. And that's a $4,000 suit, which means you're not here for the coffee. She shrugged. Important meeting? Frozen laptop? Math? She was watching him the way a chess player watches the board. Derek felt something he hadn't felt in years. The uncomfortable sensation of being figured out by someone he'd already dismissed. 2 minutes, she said. If it doesn't work, you've lost nothing. If it does, you make your meeting. Later, Derek would replay this moment 1,000 times. The moment he could have said no, could have walked away, could have left the universe's ledger unbalanced for another day, another year, another lifetime. But the Singapore meeting was worth $100 million, and his pride was worth exactly that much. Not a penny more. Fine, he said, sliding the laptop toward her. 2 minutes. She sat down across from him without asking permission. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with a fluency that contradicted everything about her appearance. Command lines, diagnostic codes, things Derek vaguely remembered from his own early days, peak years, before he'd hired people to remember them for him. You know, she said, not looking up, there's a folder on your desktop called Legacy. Derek's blood went cold. What about it? Nothing. Her fingers kept moving. Just noticed it. The folder, the one he never opened, the one he couldn't delete, the one that contained everything he'd spent 15 years trying to forget. Emails, documents, photos, the entire archaeological record of a friendship he'd murdered for money. That's private, he said. His voice came out wrong, too sharp, too scared. She looked up then, met his eyes with something that wasn't accusation, wasn't anger, was something worse. Recognition. I know, she said quietly. Some things should stay buried. Right, Mr. Hartwell? The name hung in the air between them. He hadn't told her his name, hadn't introduced himself, hadn't given her any reason to know who he was. Who are you? The laptop screen flickered, came back to life. The loading wheel was gone. She slid the computer back to him and stood up. My name is Maya, she said. Maya Reeves. Reeves. The static in Derek's chest exploded into white noise. Reeves. My father, she said, was Daniel Reeves, your best friend, your co-founder, the man you destroyed. She shouldered her backpack, and I've been looking for you for a very long time. Daniel Reeves. The name hit Derek like a bullet he'd been dodging for 15 years. He felt his hands go numb, felt the coffee shop shrink around him until there was nothing left but this table, this girl, and the weight of everything he'd buried. Sit down. His voice was a stranger's. Please. Maya didn't move. Why? So you can offer me money? That's what you do, right? You buy your way out of everything. I'm asking you to sit down so I can explain. Explain what? Her voice cracked. The composure she'd worn like armor started showing fractures. Explain how you stole my father's algorithm? How you filed the patent in your name while he was in the hospital? How you built a $4 billion empire on something he created? The people at nearby tables were starting to look. Derek didn't care. For the first time in 15 years, he didn't care about anything except the girl standing in front of him with her father's eyes. It wasn't like that, he said. Then tell me what it was like. She sat down. Not because he'd asked, because her legs were shaking. Tell me why my father killed himself 3 months after you took everything from him. The word landed like a grenade. Killed himself. Derek had never let himself say it. Never let himself think it. Daniel had died. That was the version he'd allowed into his memory. Daniel had died, and it was tragic, and Derek had honored his legacy by building something great from the work they'd started together. But that was a lie, and the lie had lived inside him for so long that he'd forgotten it was a lie at all. Open the folder, Maya said. What? The legacy folder, on your laptop. Open it. Derek's hands were trembling. He hadn't opened that folder in over a decade. Hadn't been able to. It sat on his desktop like a grave he drove past every day but never visited. He double-clicked. The folder contained 3 items: an email thread, a video file, and a document titled The Truth. The video, Maya said. Play it. Derek clicked. The screen filled with a face he'd tried to forget. Daniel Reeves, thin, pale, sitting in what looked like a hospital room. The timestamp said 15 years ago, 3 days before he died. Derek? Daniel's voice was weak, but steady. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. And it means Maya found you. I asked her to wait until she was old enough to understand, to make her own choice about what to do with what I'm about to tell you. Derek couldn't breathe. I know what you did. I've always known. The patent, the investors, the way you restructured the company while I was getting chemo. Daniel coughed, smiled sadly. I was angry for a long time. Angry enough to want you to suffer, to want Maya to destroy you the way you destroyed me. Maya was crying now, silent tears running down her face. But here's the thing, brother. Daniel leaned closer to the camera. I forgave you. Not because you deserved it, because I couldn't leave this world carrying that weight, and I couldn't put that weight on my daughter. Derek felt something break inside him, something that had been holding him together for 15 years. The document in this folder is the original patent filing, my name, my work, everything you need to prove what really happened. Daniel paused. But there's also a letter I wrote to you. Not to the man you became, to the man you were. My best friend. The guy who slept on my couch for 6 months when we were starting out, the guy who cried at my wedding. The video flickered. Maya has a choice to make. She can take that document and burn everything you've built, or she can do something harder, something I've asked her to consider. Derek looked at Maya. She was staring at the screen, at her father's face, at the ghost of a man who'd found a way to reach across death and time and hatred to deliver one final message. She can give you a chance to make it right. The video ended. Silence. Derek sat there, tears streaming down his face, looking at a girl who held his entire life in her hands. The document could end him. Lawsuits, criminal charges, the complete destruction of everything he'd built on a stolen foundation. I spent 6 years planning this, Maya whispered, learning to code, tracking you down, figuring out how to get close enough to make you see. She wiped her eyes. I was going to destroy you. That was the plan. What changed? She reached into her backpack and pulled out a worn envelope, handed it to him. My father's letter. He wrote one for you too. I wasn't supposed to read it, but I did. She took a shaky breath. He said you were broken long before you broke him. He said hurting you wouldn't heal anything. He said the only thing that could save either of us was if I gave you the chance to become the man he always believed you could be. Derek held the envelope like it was made of glass. What do you want from me, Maya? She looked at him. Daniel's eyes, Daniel's stubbornness, Daniel's impossible, infuriating capacity for hope. I want you to read the letter, and then I want you to decide what kind of man you are. Derek opened the envelope with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The letter was handwritten. Daniel's handwriting. That messy, half-cursive scrawl that Derek used to mock him for. The ink had faded in places, but the words were clear. Every single one of them. Derek. If you're reading this, my daughter found you. And if she gave you this letter instead of burning your life to the ground, it means she's stronger than both of us ever were. I'm not going to pretend I understand why you did what you did. I spent months trying to figure it out. Was it greed? Fear? Did I do something to make you think I wouldn't share everything with you anyway? We built that algorithm together, brother. Late nights, cold pizza, your couch that smelled like regret. I would have given you half of everything without you ever having to ask. But you didn't ask. You took. And then you disappeared. Derek had to stop reading. His vision was blurred. His chest felt like it was being crushed from the inside. Maya sat across from him, silent, waiting, giving him the space that rage had almost denied him. He kept reading. Here's what I need you to understand. I'm not writing this letter to punish you. I'm writing it because I know something about you that you've probably forgotten. I know the kid who cried when his father called him worthless. I know the teenager who slept in his car because home wasn't safe. I know the man who told me once, drunk on cheap whiskey at 3 a.m., that his biggest fear wasn't failure. It was becoming the kind of person who hurts people to get ahead. You became that person, Derek. But that doesn't mean you have to stay him. Maya is going to offer you a choice. You can fight her. Lawyers, money, power. You have more of all three. You could probably bury this and never face consequences. That's one path. Or you can do the thing that terrifies you. You can admit what you did. Not to the world. I don't care about that. To yourself. To Maya. You can look at the wreckage you've created and decide to build something different. I'm dying, brother. I have maybe a week left. And I've spent a lot of that time thinking about legacy. Not patents, not money, legacy. The thing we leave in people's hearts after we're gone. My legacy is Maya. She's everything good I ever did. And I'm trusting her to decide what to do with you. Not because I think you deserve mercy, but because I think the act of offering mercy might save her from becoming as broken as we are. If you're reading this, you have a chance. Not to fix the past, you can't, but to change what comes next. Don't waste it. Daniel? Derek set the letter down. The coffee shop continued around them. Laptops and lattes. People living their small, ordinary lives, unaware that 3 tables away, a man was being offered resurrection. The document, Derek said. His voice was raw. The patent proof. What do you want to do with it? Maya studied him, looking for something. Derek didn't know if she found it. My father left me a trust, she said. Not money, he didn't have any left. Instructions. He said if I ever found you, I should ask for one thing. Not money, not revenge. Something harder. What? A foundation. In his name. For kids aging out of foster care who want to learn to code. She pulled out her worn notebook, opened it to a page covered in numbers and plans. I've been designing the curriculum for 3 years. I know what it would cost. I know how to make it work. I just need someone with resources to believe in it. Derek looked at the notebook, at the careful handwriting, at the years of work and hope and grief poured into pages that no one had ever seen. You could have demanded anything, he said. You have proof that I committed fraud. You could take everything. I know. Why this? Maya closed the notebook, looked out the window at the gray Austin sky. Because my father taught me that broken people break people. And the only way to stop the cycle is to build something instead of burning something down. She turned back to him. I don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. But I'm choosing to believe that you can be better. That's what my father wanted. That's the only inheritance he left me. Derek sat there for a long time, looking at the letter, looking at Maya, looking at the laptop that held the folder he'd never been able to delete. Because some part of him, buried deep beneath the money and the power and the noise, had always known this day would come. Okay, he said finally. Okay? The foundation, Daniel's name, everything you've planned. He picked up the letter, folded it carefully, placed it in his jacket pocket. I'll fund it, all of it. And I'll do more than that. I'll work with you. Not as a donor, as a partner. Maya's eyes filled with tears again, but different tears this time. There's one condition, Derek said. What? He looked at the legacy folder, at the video, at the ghost of his best friend who had somehow, impossibly, found a way to save him from himself.
You teach me, he said, how to be the man your father believed I could be, because I've forgotten, and I don't want to die having never remembered. Maya reached across the table, took his hand. Daniel's daughter, Daniel's legacy, Daniel's final, impossible gift. Then let's get started, she said.
Outside, the clouds began to break. A single beam of light fell across South Congress Avenue. The universe keeps a ledger, and sometimes, rarely beautifully against all odds, it lets you pay your debts while you're still alive.